Yeah, so we focus on the kind of the third stage of recovery. There are those that do the rescuing, like I mentioned. There's those that are providing residential services and services that allow survivors to become stable and ready to start thinking about a future. And then we come alongside after that second stage, once they've been identified as someone who wants to think about, what does independent living look like? What does it look like for me to get a job again or get my first job? And so they are referred to us by our partner agencies, and we start working on that process of dreaming. And so we offer two different programs. We have a youth mentoring program that is kind of like a big sister program for young girls. And then we also offer a career development academy. And it's a 12-week academy where survivors come 3 nights a week to learn over 30 different topics.
Oh, wow.
And so we're really helping them prepare, not just their resume and become proficient in interviewing, but also helping them identify how to budget, how to have good communication with your employees or employers, your coworkers, and then how to have healthy boundaries. Obviously, these girls have not been taught how to have boundaries, and so really reteaching some of the skills and tools that we maybe have learned as individuals when we were younger, but now they're learning at a much later stage in life. And so we also have in that process, that 12-week process, they learn how to write effectively, whether that's technical writing or creative writing. And then we talk about, what is PTSD? How does that affect your brain? How does that affect how you view your future and your success, and then how to overcome those barriers so that you can become successful. So our goal, once they come to us, the very first week we identify, what are your skills? What are your passions? We utilize occupational therapists through a partner organization that they're able to then really unlock those dreams for these young women. So then the remaining 11 weeks, they get to focus on, how do I reach that dream? What do I need to learn? What areas do I need to grow in as an individual so that I can be successful?
Wow. And how have you found the girls to be, like, when you I guess get them, when you start with them, because you bring up the PTSD, I imagine there's so much trauma. Do you find that that's a big hurdle, or that they're open, excited?
It varies.
Range,
so some have been out a lot longer. Some have just recently been rescued, and so it really just ranges on the stage that they're in healing. And so those that are a little bit further along can openly talk about it. Some just don't talk about it at all. And we keep our cohorts small and closed, so they know this is a safe space. All of the women in my class have experienced a similar situation, might not be the same, but they understand. And so there is that mutual understanding of past and experience, so that going forward in the classes, they know that if something comes up, or if we mention something, I'm not going to be judged for my past. I'm not going to be judged for my opinion on something, because they understand as well. And so because of that, what we're seeing is each cohort then forms a sisterhood. And so there are these, girls who root for one another, cheer each other on when it comes to different, assignments and tasks, and are there on graduation day, cheering each other on as they have to deliver speeches on graduation day. And so it's great to see them encouraging one another in that as well, especially because most people are afraid of public speaking.
Yeah.
And to help them overcome that hurdle, and to say, this is a very valuable tool that you can take with you in the workplace, or even in your own life as you become an advocate. Because what we're seeing is that these survivors are becoming overcomers, and they want to be advocates in the community and really raise that awareness on what the issue really looks like.
Are these girls, now that I know that a lot of these, victims kind of fall into this because they didn't have maybe the strongest upbringings at the graduation, or their life outside of the school, do they generally have a lot of family involvement or a strong community, like outside?
It depends. So some have a strong, family community or friend community. And then some often come to us with no, support, emotional support at all. And so we kind of come alongside and help create that for them through the volunteers that teach our programs and those that want to be that support for them. And so we help kind of recreate that positive community because what we're saying is take, this life that you have known for a big chunk of your life and all of these people who are negative and who really don't want you to succeed, we're going to take you from that community and then we have nowhere to put you. We just want you to not be around those people. And so if you take them out of the situation, you have to replace that community. And so we're trying to recreate that through the volunteers that we have at our organization and through other partner organizations that want to come alongside and kind of create that safe, healthy environment for them.
Is that a trend in this area at all of girls falling back into that life?
So I think the current statistic is similar to domestic violence, where they go back 6 to 7 times until they're ready to really make that choice. And that's obviously, again, an average.
Of course, yeah.
So that could be less than more for some. But they really do. Yeah, some it takes a few tries to go back and, then realize, oh my gosh, this is not the life that I want. And for some, it means having children and realizing this is not the future I want for my children. And so I will do whatever it takes to, change that for them.
I saw this one documentary and they were following a girl who had come out of it and she was doing really well. And she took the film crew to one of the corners that she would have to work. And she saw another girl that she knew that they would work together, and and unfortunately the other girl was still in it. But they were I guess they had both gone to prison at the same time, and then they got out of prison, and the other girl went back to it, and it was so hard for her to see. I mean,
it's especially when you've already made that decision and that choice to leave. It's hard to see others still making those same choices and still, not ready to leave. And I don't want to say making those choices again as if they are choosing to be on the street, but just still having that inability to seek help and to really move forward.
And drugs probably have a good amount to do with it.
A lot of survivors are, under some kind of substance by the trafficker to either keep them compliant, to either numb them so that they don't, have the experience of seeing so many Johns every day that they just become machines in a sense. And so, there are different forms of that substance control over the survivors. And again, not all of them, but a large percentage do.
Talking about how a lot of these victims don't have families once they come out of their situation. That reminds me that I was watching this thing of saying that apparently there's guys, like you were saying, there's 70,000 guys out there online preying on girls, but I guess there was a specific group of men specifically targeting women in prison, knowing whatever their research was, however they knew this information, knowing they weren't going to have anywhere to go after.
Yes, that is huge. That's actually what is currently driving us to start working with women in jails and in prisons, because we are seeing an increase of women being trafficked outside of jail once either they're released or even starting that process while they're in jail.
That's what they were saying too, writing them letters, which I didn't even know. I didn't know you could. Apparently, anyone can send money to any prisoner. You don't have to know them. If you send them money, and they'll send money to these girls. They'll send them letters and to start establishing that relationship while they're still there. So when they get out.
Exactly, and for some of the girls, if they really have no one else waiting for them. Again, it's someone who is offering them a place to stay, and it might just be, I gave you some money in jail, so you owe me a small favor. But that small favor quickly turns into, a lot of favors and a situation where they can't escape. And so, yeah, that is something that we're seeing increasing in the trafficking community. And so we, as an organization, are moving upstream and starting to get those young women ahead of time and start talking to them about what does it look like to be trafficked, because a lot of them don't even know what trafficking is until they're in the situation.
Yeah, there was actually, I think the same girl who had gotten out of it, I think she was actually working, she had her own organization to try and help victims, and she would speak at prisons, and they, filmed one of the classes, and one of the girls actually had to get up and leave because I think she like realized she was in the situation, she couldn't handle it. And so she left, but then there was another girl that was like, I've done these things and I didn't know that this was a thing, a problem, like an issue. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of times what we're seeing is as education is more prevalent in the prison system and in jails, and these girls are starting to learn about what is trafficking, they don't realize, that their boyfriend or an exploiter that is taking advantage of them is indeed an exploiter. For they only see them as that individual that provides that shelter and that support, twisted support. And so for them to actually get to that point of, wait a minute, this hasn't been a healthy relationship. This is actually a situation where he is benefiting from me and my exploitation. And so once you see that aha moment, that is when you're able to actually have more conversations of, okay, well, now when you get out, that person is not a safe person to go back to. And so what does it look like for you to change that?
Can you tell me about any particular success stories from your organization that you like?
Yeah, so one of my favorites is this young mom who was 30 years old when she left the life, and she had twins that were 6 months old.
Wow.
And she was introduced into the life when she was 12 years old. And so she spent a huge chunk of her
18 years.
Exactly. And sold from one pimp to another. When she turned 18, her first pimp sold her to another pimp because
they do that?
Yeah. So her first pimp only worked with minors, so he only exploited minors. And so when she turned 18, he had no use for her, and so he sold her to another pimp who was much more brutal and had stabbed her multiple times in the back, broke her wrist, broke her jaw, and who also then impregnated her. And so she knew that day that, they turned six months, and it was time, according to him, for her to go back to work. She was not planning to go back. That was it. Like she knew that was not a life she wanted for her children. And, in that situation, he was trying to use force to get her to get on the streets and, started to beat her. And she realized, as she was holding one of her children, she realized, I have to leave. And so she devised a plan. She left, and we met her shortly after.
Wow.
And this young woman is now in school to become a psychologist and is working and lives on her own in an apartment with her children. And so, her life has changed so much just because there was a group of individuals that said, we believe in you and we believe you have more worth and value than what you've been told your entire life. And so, we're here to give you the tools and the resources to make that happen. And, we're still working with her. She graduated from our program over a year ago, and we still, whatever resources, that she needs along the way, she still can come back to us and we can help her in those areas. But we know that we're in it for the long run, and we know it's going to be a journey.
So you'll help girls even after they graduate?
Yes. So typically we say we will provide the employment support for up to 2 years. There is no firm 2 years, I'm sorry. And so they could still come back to us beyond that. We still have clients from, years back that are still coming back to us in need of resources. And so we're there at that point as a connector. We introduce them to other organizations that might provide the resources that they need in that stage of life, or whether that's employment support or housing support, therapy. There's only so much we can do in-house. We are very niche in our approach. And so everything else, we leverage our community partners that do that area really well and whatever they focus in. And we make sure that our clients get those services from
that's
them.
good. So you partner up with other organizations that are a little more niche-y in that way, so you guys can do better at what it is that you do and they do. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So is there anything about this issue that you wish more people knew, something that you've always wanted to kind of get out there that you don't think is out there enough?
I would say, I think, kind of touching more on what we talked about earlier, is the idea that, there are no girls that are out there that are waking up every morning and saying, I love my life in what, in the circumstance that I'm in. These girls are, victims of circumstance and victims of just situations that are causing them to either be forced on the streets by traffickers or by those that, we assume are prostitutes on their own. All of these young girls are hurting in some way, and whether they know it or not, can identify it or not. But for us to see young girls on the street, if you're driving down Sepulveda and you see a girl, don't be so quick to make that judgment that girl is out there on her own and is empowered. Have more of a sympathetic, I think, eye when you do see that.
In that situation, would you say, like, call a hotline if you can, or something?
Yes, if you believe that is, a situation that they need help from, yes.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this issue. Like I say, I personally feel like it's not out there enough. But, I'm just happy that you were able to come on, give us a little bit more awareness about it. You're obviously neck deep in it. So, and telling us about your organization too. Two Wings.
Yes.
Yeah. LA based.
Exactly. Yes, we're LA based and currently working on other locations. But so far we are in central Los Angeles, and we're always looking for volunteers. So whether that's someone who is a professional in various industries that wants to come and donate their time to teach a class. So all of those 30 different topics, those that are being taught, they're all taught by volunteer professionals. And so we want to create a community of young women who are successful in their fields to come in and teach our young women and to show them that it is possible, that that career is attainable, and just be that role model for our individuals, and as well as our youth mentoring program. We're always looking for volunteers that are interested in coming alongside a young girl for a year and just really being that support and opening her eyes to the possibilities that are out there.
Sure. And just women, right? Just women volunteers, which would make sense.
We do take male volunteers, some facilitator positions for our classes, and then also security. So one of the things that we provide for each class is security. And it's something that our women actually look forward to, because now they get to see men in a positive way. Men that are not exploiters, but men who are protectors, and men who treat them with dignity and with respect.
Like that.
And so our security is the first thing they see and before they come to class. And then they are also there to walk them to the bus stop or to their cars to make sure they are there safe, since our classes are in the evening. And so they get to see firsthand that there are good men out there. And so we're always looking for men who want to volunteer and to really show their support in the issue in that way.
Oh, I really like that. Good. I'm glad we got that out there, because I've known a couple guys that actually have wanted to be involved in a sex trafficking organization, but they were turned away, which is understandable depending on what the organization does. But they did want to be involved in some way, so that's great to know.
Yeah, we're always looking for good guys.
Yeah. Great. I know a lot of good ones.
Good. And for those that are like, I don't have the time to actually come and teach, or become a mentor, we're always open to donors who are passionate about the issue too. We're 80% funded by private donors, and the rest is 20% private foundation. So we count on community members that believe in our mission and our work and are willing to come alongside and support that financially.
Great. Do you guys have any kind of like fundraisers or campaigns throughout the year?
We do. So we have a campaign coming up at the end of the year that really, again, tells a story of all of the survivors that we've been working with throughout the year and gives donors an opportunity to see firsthand what they can invest in when they donate to the organization. And then in January, we do a mass graduation. So after each cohort graduates, after those 12 weeks, we do a small little graduation, a celebration of 30 people that says, great, you accomplished something, well done. But then we take all of our cohorts and we do a big graduation. So they get to walk the stage, get a certificate, and they get to see, over 200 people cheering them on as they get celebrated and really see that, it pays off to actually, pursue something and, complete something. And so those events are usually, I think, the highlight of the year because you get to see just the excitement and the pride in the women in accomplishing that. And we highlight one participant in that through that year that has made significant improvements or had significant hurdles that they overcame in order to accomplish success. And so we get to hear from that person and they share their story on stage. And so
great.
It's a great opportunity to come get to know what we do and kind of meet some of our women and see just the impact that you're able to have as a community individual in an organization like ours.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I'm
Thanks
so
for
glad we were able
having
to get more
me.
information out there on that. Yes, well, we'll definitely have to keep in touch. Keep us updated on the girls and the graduations and everything. So thank you for what you do and for coming on here and talking about it. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching the episode. If you're interested in contributing to the conversation and supporting the show, there's 2 easy things you can do. 1, click subscribe, and 2, visit our Patreon page where you get exclusive access to the Exploring Minds community.